So we are ProStar, world leader in the development of precision mapping solutions, and we've made PointMan, which is a mobile application that allows you to map subsurface utilities via EM locator or surface utilities with GNSS units. So it does several things. It provides the ability to capture, record, and display the precise location of buried infrastructure. It can significantly improve current workflow practices and business practices. And early adopters include Fortune 500 companies, DOTs, and large subsurface utility engineering firms. So, excuse me, it impacts several industries, including construction, DOT, oil and gas, engineering, railway, municipalities, mining, and utilities. So, at least in the United States, I'm sure this is true in Europe as well. Um, you have surface features like roads, utility poles, and then underground features. So there were 2.5 million feet miles of paved roads, and there are 35 million miles of underground pipelines and utilities. But there's the fact is you can't work on one without working on the other. So how do you deal with that? Well, when you live in a major city, this is kind of what it looks like underneath the ground. This is obviously a worst case scenario, but it looks like this pretty much across the globe because when people first started using pipelines and cables and things that are being buried to, add, bring water and sewer places, it started without any record keeping and any regulations to say this is where things should go, this is how things should be. So it just became what we like to call a spaghetti bowl underneath the earth. So these are U.S. industry statistics, but they're pretty common throughout the world, depending on how advanced your SUE is. So this is 500,000 which is the number of strikes per year, according to the 2019 DIRT report. That's an estimated $10 billion that it costs to locate that underground infrastructure. And despite the amount we spend locating, there's still $30 billion on damages that impact the economy. So these are just some pictures of examples of what can happen when you damage underground infrastructure. And all of these records tend to exist on paper maps or as-builts. So that's the big problem here is everything you do when you locate, especially in the United States, is put on these as-builts, and then your record is lost pretty much in the file cabinet somewhere right after. So this is the current practice for locating a braid utility using paint marks and a locator with no GPS unit attached. So while you might have in that moment of time a good capture of the data, it's lost forever because you're not actually capturing it with precision and accuracy. So you get an approximate location of where the utility is buried, you mark it with paint, and then hopefully a surveyor will come in later and record that data, but that doesn't always happen. Another method for locating buried utility is hydro excavation or potholing, which exposes the line directly, but it's expensive and it damages the surface and it takes a lot of time to do. So it's not very common except on um giant construction sites like highways and things like that or large skyscrapers. So this is where Point Man comes in. As you can see in this image, what he's looking at is a digital reflection of what was captured in the field. How Point Man works. You take your utility locate device, your mobile device, and you pair them via Bluetooth, and then you pair your GPS to that same mobile device. So now you have not only are you collecting the EM locate device data, which is your depth, your current, and whatnot, but you're also getting the horizontal and vertical values as well. So you know precisely where that is located. So for example, you might be locating a line that goes up the side of the street, and the reference they gave you on the as-built was that it was on the right-hand side over here. Well, that electrical line turned out to be on the left-hand side, and it turned out to not even be completely straight. And this happens all the time due to ground conditions, such as maybe there's a big boulder under the ground and you didn't want to go through it, so you went around it. Or another factor is a lot of these maps are drawn by GIS professionals or CAD professionals who haven't actually been to the field. And all they know from the surveyor's notes or the engineer's notes is that it goes from A to B. And they might just have a direction on it with a length of line. It might say 35 meters west or 35 feet west. And that's as far as you draw it. And you don't know if it curves or not. So you just draw it straight. And that happens all the time, at least in the United States. So this is an example of what PointMan can provide. We have the ability to stake back to features that are already collected. So you can see here that this point in blue where my cursor is, that is the selected point he's trying to find that he had already located previously. So in this box in the top right corner, it's actually showing you the cut, the west direction, the south direction, and the total direction it takes to get there. And he's using his phone by itself, so it's the horizontal and vertical accuracy isn't the best. But you can still see in the right hand picture here that you can zero yourself in. And this time he's using an RTK. So you can see that the values are even more precise up here. And that's the beauty of PointMan is you can use your phone GPS, or if you have the capability and the funding, you can upgrade that into an RTK GPS quality. So your precision will go even better. This is the ability to look at your data and say, this is worth keeping, or looking at it and saying, this is not worth keeping. Essentially speaking, if you look at the precision here, you can see that this was done in RTK. The accuracy is 0.0333 feet. And it even has the H stop and the standard deviation here. So if you're an engineer or a surveyor, you can actually look at that data and qualify it. And I'll get into that a little bit later. So this is just another example of the live GIS GPS interface. So this is a screenshot of an actual phone. So you can see what it looks like through the perspective of the user as he's staking a line. So ASE standards, in Europe, I know that they're much more strict over there than they are in America, but we're still trying to catch up. So that's one reason why EM locating is so important here and why PointMan is becoming such a powerful tool for electromagnetic locates. We are able to assign quality levels through an engineer by using PointMan's collected data and other things like photos and sketch maps, as well as forms and things like that. So initial adoption. We have Kiewit, who is the largest construction company in the United States, and CDOT. They mandated PointMan into Colorado state law. So they started using PointMan because they actually ran a test on two large projects. One of them was about 10 miles long with 150 people, and the other one was about 10 miles long with 200 people. And they were both about $10 billion in value each. Well, one of them had PointMan. The one with less people, 150 people, actually ran PointMan on their staff. So every member of the group had PointMan who was in the field, and they were receiving daily updates, constant updates, through everyone collecting data and sharing data, and everyone in the other project was not. So they were still using paper maps and traditional methods to share their data. So one, what happened was over the course of the projects, which was about 3 years each, the first project with 150 people and PointMan reduced their line strikes by 97% to the point where they were literally having three in the last year. And the other one ended up paying approximately 40 million more in damages and lost time and safety briefs and truck rentals that they couldn't use and all of that, all those associated expenses because they didn't have Pointman to offer the visibility and safety that it provides. So I just want to say thank you for listening to this quick presentation. I'm going to show you the application now. And if you have any questions, just like I said, um, type it in the chat, and then Garrett will keep track of them for me. He's my marketing associate, and we will get into the nitty-gritty of the application itself. So I do want to note that this is a tiered program. There's Plus and Pro. The Plus version is the local version that you'll be working with directly at first. This is the it is the offline version. So we also have a cloud backend that you can use, but I'm not gonna show you guys that too much unless there was some interest in it. But basically, you would load up a project on your application, and then you would see all the data that you captured, and it's all stored locally. So you can upload pretty much anything you want as long as you have the space for it. So you see all this data in here. Right now, what I have turned on are parcels, water hydrants, and water pipes. So you can see these white boxes are my parcel layers. The water pipes are this very straight light blue and yellow lines. But you can also see there's some discrepancies here as well. So we actually went out into the field to locate this, and we were given data from Grand Junction for it was their GIS department, and they gave us all of these parcel packages and the water lines. What happened was we actually measured it, and all the lines where it said proposed lined up with where we actually measured the real lines. But the actual lines they said existed didn't exist there. And then you can see how everything's off by several feet or meters, and it's just doesn't look perfect at all. So another interesting thing here is that water hydrant, we can actually include photos and forms and a sketch maps and things like that. So not only does this mean your locator can complete his locate in the field and create a digital record of it as he's going, but he can take a snapshot of it and actually send that picture to a client if they needed some like a PDF of what was going on. Or if this was, let's say, a damaged water hydrant and you needed proof of it, you could take a picture of it and send that to where it needed to go. You can see all this metadata in here. It even shows the user that captured it, what devices were used to capture the data and store the data. So TDC 600. You can transfer data between devices by just uploading KMZs and shapefiles. If you had the cloud backend, you'd be able to sync everything through the cloud just by connecting to Wi-Fi or an internet service. But let's get into the backend here. So I'm gonna go to settings. This is the meat of the system. This is where you would set up your device and connect it. So as I understand it, the latest and greatest radio detection unit has an RTK unit. So you would actually connect that one through the internal GPS device. And same with the locator. So it would kind of look like this, and you'd have your serial numbers in here in these two boxes on the right. There's a specific pairing process I can share with you, and if you're actually interested, we can take a look at the help file. It goes to a sort of a Wikipedia page, and you can see that there's different brands that we can connect to. So you can see, uh, sorry if I fingered that, radio detection as a locator. So this is right now, as I understand it, we won't be doing a public announcement until Utility Expo, which is in 2 weeks. So that's when our website's going to be updated with the R2K model. But for now, this is the pairing steps, and it's pretty simple. You just go into set your Bluetooth to ASCII, turn your Bluetooth on, and then you would go to pairing mode, look for BTPC, and then the Bluetooth icon will flash, and that's when you can pair with your phone to it. And when you pair it to your phone, then that's when you would get the serial number here after going through the configure Bluetooth and pairing your device in here. So it's a pretty simple step process. And then once you get in there, you're gonna get all the quality that you would normally get from a radio detection unit, but it would be stored as a point inside your device, along with all the metadata from your GPS unit. And that makes it even more powerful than it was before because now you have that precision data that normally wouldn't be there for your locates. Or if you did have it, you would come in after the fact and have to post process that data together in like your system of record, which takes extra time that I'm sure no one wants to spend on it. So that's kind of the nitty gritty there. We also offer some more GPS options here, which basically affect your mostly your horizontal accuracies. But we do have geoids based on region. So in this case I have geoid 18 in here since I'm in North America. So that would be another factor that would affect my vertical values. I can adjust my antenna height in here as well based off my GPS unit and my pole height, and that would also affect my depth as well. So I have those options in here to affect my depth readings and make sure that they're as accurate as possible. And then I also have map editing features. So not only can I capture this data, but I can manipulate it after the fact. I can collect two lines and then snap them to each other. Let's say it was test hold later on, and it turned out I was off by like a couple inches or a fraction of a meter, and you wanted to make it even more accurate. You can use the snap function here to snap the lines together, or you could split two lines if let's say you were on a construction site and you had a live electric cable that you cut at some point intentionally, not as a line strike, and then you wanted to abandon the back half of it, and you can do that as well. And we also have what is I think is very important is the send log file function, which lets you send a log file in case you run into tech issues directly to support. Our support runs 9 to 5 Mountain Time. That's GMT -7, I believe. And we also offer myself as a support as well. So if there's something that's critical on the weekend, you can reach out to me and I'll make sure support takes care of it first thing in the morning on Monday. So yeah, that's kind of Point Man in a like in a nutshell. I'll just show you quickly how to capture data and then I'll open the floor. I didn't I know it's late for you guys, so I'm just trying to make sure this doesn't take too much time. So I'm gonna hit the new button, choose my system here. I'm gonna go with telecom, and you can see here I have a bunch of things in the data dictionary. These are all fully customizable. So whatever you want in here, whatever you're collecting, you can get it in there. So I'm gonna choose cable in this case. I'm gonna hit OK. It says owners required. So I'll just add an owner in here and call it XL. Now it says failed to locate. That's because I actually forgot to set this to internal because I had it set on radio detection before. I'm not actually connected to a unit because I'm indoors right now, so it would be kind of useless. So I'll turn off my GPS and hit the add button. And merely by tapping the screen, I can draw a line out. And all I have to do is just hit finish. And then from there, I'm gonna hit the edit button and I'm gonna attach a photo. And I just turn that on and you can see I made a little reverb photo. Looks kind of cool. And I'll mark it up with some notes. And I'll draw this as like an area of concern and just hit OK and save it. So just like that, I drew a line in. Now, what makes the integration with radio detection even better is that you don't actually have to do tap the add button and then tap the screen to capture data. Because we're integrated with radio detection, all we have to do is just hit the locate button on the actual hardware and it'll save directly to the Pointman application. It's just that easy. So I guess with that, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and hopefully if you have questions, I can answer them for you. And if not, you can always email me later and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for your time, everybody. I know it's late over there, so I really appreciate you showing up. And we'll send this recording out later just in case you wanted to share it or review it. Oh, here's a Q&A. Oh, yes, I can. That's a great question. I didn't want to bog you guys down with that, but that's a really good question. So let me just share my screen again. All right, all right, here we go. So Ntrip is really simple. As long as you have, we have Trimble Catalyst and RTX sort of natively included, but you can always add a custom one. We can do DIP or Ntrip. So all you do is just what's required here is the server info, the port, your user name and password. And once you put those in there, the name is optional, but I would always name it something just in case you have a lot of connections. Then you would get an option to choose a mount down here, and then you would just choose the local mount, and the mount being base station. So whatever's local to you, you'd choose that, and then you'd be able to connect to your Ntrip service. So it's really quite simple and it remembers it. So you don't have to constantly keep doing it either. All right, let's see. Another question. Can you add points to an existing project and snap them together? Yes. So I'll actually show you that right now. So let's say this line right here, um, that I highlighted was done a few weeks ago and you came back and to you wanted to modify it or not modify it but add to it because they did construction and they added a new line there. So I'll hit the Excel in here. I'm gonna turn off my GPS, and I'm just gonna try to get this as close as possible first, just so the snap doesn't get too weird. But there will be like a little bridge, sort of, so to speak. So because of the way the zoom works, so you will have like a little gap there that is gonna be connected, and you'll see what I'm talking about when I do so. But now I'm gonna hit the add button and just kind of, oops, okay, hit the add button and draw this line out. And I'll just draw it a couple steps and then I'll hit finish. So you said snap, but I'm wondering if you meant um join. So you can join these two lines together so there's no gap between them. But either way, you would hit move and then choose the feature that you want here. So I'm gonna choose join just to connect these two lines. And it'll bring up a little dialog. It says join. And if I join them at that point, you'll see that they're connected and it's between the two vertices that you last captured. And now this is one long line. Yeah, there is a way to walk back to an existing feature. So I'm gonna just add the caveat that I am indoors. So my GPS might fail me right now, but let's try it out. So I'm gonna choose this line right here, or not line, this fire hydrant that we looked at earlier, and I'll hit the stake button. So right now it's obtaining GPS fix. So what it's doing is because my viewport is centered, it's using the center of my viewport to navigate me to that point. But just like those screenshots I showed earlier, like this one right here, you can see that that black box where it says obtaining GPS fix, it should have those details in there if I were to have a GPS fix from being outside. And it would navigate me from that point where the target button is directly to the feature that I'm selecting. Let's see, the next question. Um, Okay. Yeah, so I guess I hope that answered your questions effectively. I will be doing a training for in the future, I think within the next week or two for a smaller group. I guess if you're interested, talk to Anne and we can get you an invite to that. And I will be going in greater detail on how all these functions work. And even I'll be going through all of the different features one by one, and we'll even build like a mock project and stuff like that. So I'll be going into greater detail. So just if you're interested in that and you want to know more, just let me know. I'm always available as well via email. So just reach out to me if you have something else that comes up. So thank you for your time, everybody. It looks like we're not getting any more questions. So I guess yeah, thanks for coming by. And ProStar thanks you. We look forward to our relationship together, and I hope it turns out to be a very fruitful one. And just know that our support team is always waiting to help you guys out, as am I. And we're always going to be able to be your first line of support if you guys can't figure it out yourselves. So just let us know. Thank you.